Hi, you're listening to Stephan Livera podcast, a show about Bitcoin. Today, for episode 264, my guest is Sheinfeld of Breez. He rejoins me on the show and we talk about the latest with Breez, how it can make sense for you or your friends and family if they want to become a Lightning merchant and use this to accept Bitcoin. And we also talk about Podcasting 2.0, using Lightning to stream sats to your favorite podcasters. But first, a message from the sponsors of the show.
Greetings, Stephan Livera fans. This is Dread here, and I have some big news to share. Swan Bitcoin's new private client services division is open for business. So last August, MicroStrategy CEO Michael Saylor kicked off the trend of companies buying Bitcoin for their balance sheets. A flood of high-profile investors and companies have joined him. Names like Paul Tudor Jones, BlackRock, Square, and Tesla. Swan Private exists to meet the massive international demand from thousands of companies, family offices, and high net worth investors from all around the globe. If you're thinking of buying between $100,000 and $100 million worth of Bitcoin over the next year, visit swanbitcoin.com/private. That's swanbitcoin.com/private. Fill out the onboarding form or email the CEO personally, Corey@swanbitcoin.com. That's CORY@swanbitcoin.com. Respect fans and one love.
Lend at Hodl Hodl is a non-custodial Bitcoin-backed lending platform. This allows you to lend and borrow globally and anonymously. If you have stablecoins, you can lend them and earn attractive returns. Hodl Hodl's lending allows you to earn 25% APR on average, one of the highest returns on the market. Also, if you have Bitcoin and you don't want to sell your Bitcoin, you can borrow against them as collateral. So you can get fiat stablecoin liquidity without trusting your money to one party. On Lend at Hodl Hodl, your Bitcoin collateral always remains locked in escrow. Lend at Hodl Hodl is a Bitcoin DeFi, allowing peer-to-peer lending and borrowing directly. So with the platform, you set your own terms and put up offers depending on how long you want to borrow or lend, and the interest rate. Go check it out. The website is lend.hodlhodl.com. Compass is an online marketplace making it easier for everyone to mine Bitcoin and enhance the Bitcoin network's security. This is the anti-cloud mining option. Compass will help you buy your own ASIC, application-specific integrated circuit, and find secure hosting at great facilities around the world. So for years we've heard mining's only profitable if you're investing lots of money. But now with Compass, everyone can tap into those economies of scale. And if you're unsure about how to get started, Compass offers hardware and hosting bundles. And check out my earlier episode 259 with Whit Gibbs from the team. Compass eliminates the need for advanced technical knowledge, and you can get started mining Bitcoin. Go to compassmining.io and start mining today. On to the show. Roy, welcome back to the show.
Hi, Stephan. Great to be back. How are you?
So there's been a lot of stuff going on since we spoke on the show last time. So maybe just give us a flavor of what you're working on these days over at Breez.
Sure. So Breez, for those who are unfamiliar with the work that we do on Lightning, we're basically building services on top of Lightning Network to help Bitcoin become a medium of exchange. A lot of folks do not believe that Bitcoin can become a medium of exchange, but we are, and we aggressively working to make that a reality. I don't know when we've spoken last, but it's been a hell of a ride in Lightning. Last year, we were mostly focused on improving the infrastructure and the user experience of Lightning on mobile. Some of the stuff that we've implemented include creating channels on the fly, implementing zero confirmation channels, supporting MPP, graph optimizations. A lot of the stuff that we are doing is to be able to run a Lightning node in an optimal manner on a mobile device. So good portions of last year were dedicated to that. But on top of that, we also started adding vertical solutions on top of our platforms. Last year, we've added a point of sale to Breez, allowing everyone out there to be a merchant with a click of a button, basically. No need for a bank account, no need for anything, just download Breez, switch to the point of sale view, and you are all set, ready to accept Lightning payments. And most recently, a week ago, actually, we've added podcasting support. Podcasting 2.0 is now included in Breez, allowing users, listeners to stream sats to their favorite podcasters.
Excellent. That's obviously going to be my favorite feature. So
I wonder why.
That's going to be the incentive. It's like you guys put in the Lightning podcasting, so now I'll shill your app to listeners so that they can do two in one, right?
Why not? That works for me.
Yeah. So look, I guess just to bring it back a step, just for listeners who are new, I've got a few listeners who are new. Obviously, we're going through a bull market. So people who are listening and you're not really sure what is all this Lightning stuff, just think of it as an easy way to do lower cost transactions, and essentially, you can get around that. There's obviously some engineering and some trade-offs around this, but an easy way to get started is to try with Breez. So Roy, can you just tell listeners, if they are new and they're signing up, what does the experience look like and what can they do off the get-go?
Well, actually, a lot of our users don't really understand how the stuff works behind the scenes. It just works. So you download Breez, you top up the wallet with some satoshis. You can even buy Bitcoin. We have a partnership with MoonPay. You can buy Bitcoin using your credit card or bank account. You can receive satoshis via Lightning Network, or you can even do an on-chain transaction. We are a Lightning wallet, so everything is swapped to Bitcoin on Lightning, off-chain, and you start paying stuff for listening to podcasts or whatever. Do whatever you want. We don't know what you're doing with your satoshis. A lot of our users don't even we get a lot of feedback that Breez is great, but it's custodial. Well, no, because it's so easy to use. Breez is not custodial. Breez, when you top up your wallet and you don't have a Lightning channel, we open a channel on the fly and swap your satoshis to the Lightning channel, and you can instantly start sending or receiving payments.
Yeah, so that's a really cool feature around Breez. So obviously for listeners who are new, we very much encourage in Bitcoin this ethos, not your keys, not your coins. And so that means, as an example, you want to try to use the services that give you more sovereignty and more power in your control. And so that's a good way, and this might be a good option for you. Maybe you're a new listener, or maybe you're a regular listener and you're thinking of what to tell your friends when they want to get started. And so for some of them, they are going to just be more interested in getting a hardware wallet and just stacking into that. But those people who want to get involved into, this world and try to earn sats, maybe this is a way for you. And so, for example, you might have an exchange and you might have bought some Bitcoin. Well, now you can withdraw some out of that exchange into your Breez wallet, and then you can do that with a Bitcoin on-chain transaction from the exchange, right? You might go to the exchange and say, hey, I want to withdraw $50 worth or $100, whatever. And then Breez will then swap that into Lightning for you, right?
Exactly. And we also have users using, can't recall the name of the mining company who compensate users for.
I think it's NiceHash.
Exactly. So NiceHash supports Lightning. You can withdraw from NiceHash to Breez. There's plenty of Lightning supporting services, including fun games like Thunder games that Jack is developing, or Lightning Roulette and others. So you can also do that if you want. We have heavy Thunder games users using Breez.
Yeah, that's really cool. And so I can imagine, obviously, there's the obvious pushback, which some people will be like, hey, why do I spend my Bitcoin? I want to hold it only. But I would just say, remember, in order for you to get those sats, unless you mined them yourself, someone had to sell or spend for you to get those sats. And so that's, I guess, part of how we have to recognize this is a phenomenon and an overall economy. Now, yes, I do recognize holding is the most important part, but for people who want to live on the Lightning, today, people who want to use it today, and there are people out there who do that. This is
that a lot,
tool.
by the way. We've been growing like crazy, so a lot of people are using their sats. And I think we can get into that discussion, but I think that if you get to think about the meaning of holding and Bitcoin as a store of value, I think what people sometimes miss to understand or don't realize that in order to be a great store of value, Bitcoin has to become also a medium of exchange.
Yeah, and I think this really enables people to do that. And I think it also makes a lot of sense for the merchant case, right? So let's say you are a one-off, and you don't have the time to go and set up a full-blown thing. You just want to get started the easy way. So you can just start up Breez, and it's got a POS app. So for those of you out there, if you have friends who are thinking about trying to accept Bitcoin for their services, you can get them onto Breez started just like that. You can literally get them to download the app and set up a wallet and then toggle over to POS mode, and then boom, now they can start accepting sats, and they're kind of like a merchant just using their iPhone or even like an iPad, right?
Exactly. And as you said, Stephan, every time that we add a hodler to the Bitcoin network, someone sold his Bitcoin or their Bitcoin. So in order to grow the adoption of Bitcoin, you need to sell some of your Bitcoin. And Breez is a very easy, simple way for merchant to onboard. I'm getting pictures all around the world from people in India, for people in the Philippines, from people in Brooklyn, New York, all over really street merchants using Breez in order to accept sats, which is, absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, that's really cool to hear. Now, I'm curious as well, because this might be a point of contention around the community where obviously people want there to be this non-custodial culture, but I understand that in some parts of the world, people literally, for them to pay an on-chain fee, it is actually quite a high amount even to open that channel. So how are you thinking about that? And would you say there are certain thresholds, and maybe below like a certain threshold, they actually do have to use custodial Lightning, or perhaps community custodial, as opposed to just kind of an unknown custodial? Or how are you thinking about that question there for those people?
Well, the reason I started Breez is to demonstrate that you can have, when people talk about custodial, typically they talk about the user experience. And my reason of starting Breez is to demonstrate and to show the world that we can keep all the Bitcoin values and still make Bitcoin a currency and have a user experience that is on par with custodial services and with fiat. There is, of course, a question of opening channels. What we do in Breez, we take a minimum fee of when we open a channel, actually 0.1% from the transaction. But right now, for this specific operation, we are losing money, meaning we are subsidizing the channel opening right now. For some of the users. I hope that with vertical solutions like the merchant solutions and with the content consumption like podcasting, then we'll make enough money out of users that will keep subsidizing channel opening for those who can't pay the fee for these channels. So in the long run, exactly like email is free and a lot of the SaaS services people are using are free, and this freemium model is being subsidized by heavy users. I think, and I'm seeing that That's what's happening right now with Breez. I think we'll be able to subsidize a lot of the channel opens for users who can't pay for channel opens and retain this non-custodial model. Because for me, Bitcoin is Bitcoin only if it exists in a non-custodial fashion. There's no point in developing custodial solutions. They're just another form of banks.
Yeah, right. And so let's talk through some of the typical hurdles that maybe in years gone by, because obviously Lightning is very early, right? A lot of people say, oh, yeah, see, Lightning's been around and it's been how many years and another 18 months. And these are the typical things people would say. And obviously in the early days, there was not as much routing capability. And so you might be a lot more likely to run into some kind of routing failure when attempting a Lightning payment. But nowadays, that's improved significantly. What's your experience been around those kinds of initial issues that people were facing in the early days versus where we are today in 2021?
Yeah, there are still issues, Stephan. Let's be honest. Lightning isn't perfect yet. People are bugging me because the Breez is still in beta, and we have a warning when you open the app that don't put money that you don't want to lose. But I have to be transparent and very clear with our users. I think Lightning is still in beta. That's my personal position, and that's how I present that to the world. But Lightning has improved significantly, specifically in terms of liquidity. Two major features were added to Lightning last year. One is one-bot channels, the ability to open large amount channels between hubs, between Lightning nodes. And that increased the liquidity of the network significantly. The other improvement, which is I think much more important and was key to the development of Lightning and the ability to route payments from one node to the other, is MPP, the ability to split a payment to multiple parts and route this payment via different routing paths. That was a huge improvement, and I'm witnessing the average transaction amount increases from I think a couple of years ago, 2 years ago, it was around $1 or $2, and now it's 50. It's around $50 even a transaction. And I don't know if you saw the Eric Wall thread about trying to pay in Lightning. He was successful to send $100,000 via Breez, by the way, because of MPP, because this payment was split to multiple parts.
Was it $1,000? I can't recall exactly.
Yeah, it was, I think, 1.8 million Satoshis, which is around $1,000, I think.
Yeah, something in that range, yeah.
Yeah, and that was something that is, you couldn't do that a year ago, and even 6 months ago. That was impossible. And now it's a reality. And MPP, MPP really helped to route a larger payment more reliably.
Yeah, and I think that reliability is key, because when you are taking a new person in, you want them to have a nice experience. And so doing all these little things, and I think a lot of the Lightning apps and Lightning builders in the space have really put a lot of work in to smooth over a lot of these little things and hide things away in the corners, like little things like having the channel automatically open or automatically able to take to receive. Right,
exactly.
Because I remember, I think Breez in the early days, you had to wait for the channel to confirm.
Yeah,
and that's changed now, right?
That's changed. Yes, there's a lot of it's not small incremental changes, but there's a lot of incremental changes that seem small maybe to the end users, but make the entire experience much more seamless and holistic. Creating channels on the fly, meaning you don't need to wait to the channel to be open. The channel is being created on the fly when you receive a payment, and we create a zero confirmation channel, meaning you can immediately spend the funds after receiving without waiting for on-chain confirmation. Also, MPP is a huge deal in mobile. We've actually optimized and changed the MPP algorithm on mobile devices to allow the user to spend all the funds from all of the channels that they have inside the mobile device, inside Breez. That's not how MPP works, but this is something that users expect. Meaning you receive funds, you are able to spend all the funds. Seems trivial in a fiat application, not as trivial in a non-custodial Lightning application, and we've implemented that. Also, I don't know if you recall the issue of channel reserve.
Yes.
Yeah. So in Lightning, there's a need to save some of the sats locked forever till the channel closes. And we forked LND to get rid of that as well. So you can send all your funds and have a zero balance in Breez.
Yeah, so I'm curious then, could that represent a risk to Breez's side if, I don't know, maybe someone is being more adversarial or someone's like thinking very attacker-minded, if they were to spin up a lot of these and then just burn a lot of, Breez's capacity or a lot of BitBreez's sats on channel closers?
Well, keep in mind that with the zero channel reserve, we are the one that are opening the channel. So actually, the zero channel reserve is for users that open channels and then close channel immediately to lock users' funds. So if we are the one that are opening the channels, I think we're good on that regard.
Yeah, I see. And then also the big problem early was people were struggling to get inbound liquidity. So they had this issue where they would start up a Lightning wallet, but then not be able to receive because they didn't have any incoming capacity. And I think that's one area where Breez kind of innovated in that way to make it a much more slick experience where they just open the wallet and they're able to receive straight away. So what kind of capacity do they have when they start Breez up today?
They don't have any capacity when they start Breez. That's the whole deal with the zero confirmation channel. So let's take a step back for a second. We call this service an LSP, Lightning Service Provider. Lightning Service Provider is the entity that onboards users to the Lightning Network, exactly like an ISP onboards users to the internet. So Breez has this very sleek, cool Lightning client, but it also has this part of providing LSP services, being an LSP in the network. So when you install Breez, you don't have any inbound capacity. When you start receiving funds in Breez, then the LSP opens a channel to the end user, to the node running on the mobile device, and we currently add 100K of satoshis extra to the incoming payment, and we do that by creating an on-the-fly channel with zero confirmation. So it's very dynamic, and we do that up to 4 million satoshis. We limit the local balance of all the channels to 4 million satoshis.
Gotcha. Yeah, let me just quickly see what that then allows people to be a merchant straight away, right? Like if they were to receive. And so I guess they can fund it either with a on-chain payment or with a Lightning payment, and it will swap into, or it'll become a channel on their side, right?
Exactly, or by Bitcoin via MoonPay or via Bitfinex or other Lightning supporting exchange or not. Because we also do swaps on chain to off chain swaps. But merchants actually don't need to fund the wallet. They need to fund the wallet from customers. Whenever a customer wants to purchase something, they send them a Lightning payment, and the channel is being automatically opened if needed.
And that's a really cool factor, because I think if I were to try and onboard somebody as a merchant, And I didn't want to have to go and teach them, oh, hey, man, you got to set up your channels and you got to make sure you got inbound capacity and maybe you got to loop out. Here it's more like, no, just get this app, receive it on the app, and then the app will deal all the channels in the background. So I think that's an important factor, just to call that out, just for people who are new, if you're thinking about how to start taking payment. Now, I guess this would just be, I guess it makes the most sense if you are just kind of a one-man band. But I guess how would it work in the case where, let's say it's a store and there's multiple employees and you need to start managing it like that? How would you sort of build it from there for a merchant, that is?
So we have a feature in the Breez point of sale, which is manage your password or manage your something. I don't know. It turns the wallet to a receive only mode when you switch it on, and only admins, only managers can unlock the wallet and to spend the funds from Breez. So imagine a store with multiple workers. You set up Breez for all your employees, and you switch for the employees that you don't want them to spend funds. You switch the manager password settings, and then you are all set.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, so that makes a lot of sense then. So, you could have, let's say, an iPad in the store, and then the employees can punch in and they can ring up the bill and say, oh, this is $30 for your order. The customer just pays it either on chain or Lightning, and then later the manager can come along and enter their PIN and,
exactly
receive or spend some of that out, or
exactly
do what they want out of that. And so I
and
guess
we
then the other
even
thing,
have a merchant that install Breez on their employees' mobile devices, and they set the password on their employees' mobile devices. So we have that as well.
Oh, right. Well, there you go. So that's another way where you could have multiple devices all being in play at the same time to be for that same merchant. And then on the other side, so let's say that merchant now wants some fiat. So, they need to pay their bills. They need some fiat, Australian dollars or US dollars or whatever. Then at that point, that's where they might need to then go find an exchange to deposit. And they would send, deposit using Lightning into that exchange to get their US dollars, Australian dollars or whatever out. Or obviously if they're able to find someone who wants to buy it cash in person, okay. But in most cases, they're probably just going to be going to an exchange for that, right?
Exchange or a broker. Moonpace supports sell as well. You have a very nice service from Bitrefill that allows you to have a fixed fiat amount and hold the amount in a Bitrefill card, inbuilt refill if you don't want to face price volatility. So there are a lot of options out there.
Ah, clever. Yeah. So you could basically buy that Bitrefill card and at the end of the day, say, and then just hold those and then spend those if you needed them inside the Bitrefill ecosystem. And so that's another way to kind of play together. So I think that's what you were talking about with this idea of Breez not just being a wallet, but being kind of like a Lightning platform, if you will, to enable these connections. So can you tell us a little bit about some of the connections there then? Like what other ways are you looking for Breez to sort of collaborate or, facilitate?
So definitely. So Breez is actually, as you said, a platform. Even in the first show that we've done, I didn't like the word wallet because it's really, I don't think the term is a good fit for a Lightning client. Wallet is just a very small aspect of what we do and others are doing in the ecosystem. There is a wallet, but it's also just a very small part of being a payment service in the Lightning ecosystem. LSP is another part of that, but also the infrastructure, the platform that we're building inside the client. So we have a point of sale. We have podcasting, which is the first example of streaming sats for content. We can discuss this further in a second, but we also have an apps view, and in the apps view, it's an open marketplace for Lightning apps. So every app that supports every Lightning app that supports WebLM can be integrated into Breez. And we have a lot of apps we have I think a dozen apps in the Breez marketplace that our users are really enjoy and use a lot. So LN Market is being heavily used among the Breez users to trade, to bet on the Bitcoin price, to short or long Bitcoin, and they're earning sats as a result, or losing sats as a result. Bitrefill is being heavily used, and we have swap services to other shitcoins, and we have whatever, like a lightning roulette, and we have Spendle, which allows you to top up a credit card, a debit card, using Lightning, and buy whatever you'd like with the debit card. So there's a really nice ecosystem of Lightning apps out there, and we expect to have more. What we want to do in Breez is actually to keep building Breez as an open platform in many ways. So Breez, unlike other services, is open in a sense that we don't limit you to the Breez LSP. You can open channel against other nodes in Breez. So we want to add more LSPs to Breez. We want to add Lightning Pool to Breez in order to increase liquidity, or even eventually for you to earn some interest on your Bitcoins. There's a lot of stuff that we're planning in that regard.
Back to the show in a moment after a message for the sponsors. Unchained Capital are building Bitcoin native financial services, and they are building it on a foundation of multi-signature. So if you heard my recent episode with Parker Lewis, they are creating multi-signature vaults. So you can buy 2 hardware wallets and you can go and set up and create an ultra-secure long-term storage vault. But if you want some guidance, they have a concierge service. Their team will teach you about multi-signature. They will ship you 2 hardware wallets. They'll answer your questions and do a video call. They will deposit $1,000 of Bitcoin in your vault, and you get $50 off if you use the code Livera. So Unchained Capital offer this. They offer an OTC desk, and it's also a great choice if you're looking for somewhere to use for custody of your self-directed Bitcoin retirement account, where you hold the keys. So go to unchained.com and find out more. CoinKite.com are the creators of my favorite Bitcoin hardware wallet, the Cold Card. The Cold Card is a specialized device allowing you to take your financial sovereignty into your own hands, and you can take those keys off the exchange. You can use the Cold Card as part of a single signature setup, and you can use it air-gapped as well. You can connect it with popular wallets like Spectre Desktop, Electrum or Blue Wallet or Sparrow Wallet, and then also it works in a single signature setup and also as part of a multi-signature, more advanced level setup. So it's very versatile in that way, and there's a lot of features that you can use, like an address explorer, so you can verify your addresses. You can use passphrases, it has anti-phishing words, and it is Bitcoin only. Go to coinkite.com and use the code Livera for a discount. CipherSafe.io are producing metal backup products like the Cipher Wheel. So if you've got that piece of paper with your 12 or 24 words from your BIP39 seed on your Trezor or your Ledger or other hardware wallet, have you got that backed up? Is it fireproof, waterproof, rust-proof, pet-proof, and tamper-evident? The Cipher Wheel comes in a wheel shape, and you get some tiles, and basically you slide them in, 4 tiles for each word, and now you or your loved ones can access those coins if an accident occurs. What if your house went up on fire? Would you be protected? Go to CipherSafe.io and use the code Livera to get yours. Back to the show. Yeah, that's fantastic. We'll have to get into some of that. But I think we'll also get into the podcasting now. So tell us a little bit about how the Lightning podcasting works.
Yeah, so podcasting is podcasting 2.0. That was it's being pushed by the wonderful Adam Curry and Dave Jones. Podcasting 2.0 is an open podcasting platform allowing everyone to register their RSS, their podcast RSS, in podcastindex.org. That's their site. And Lightning is a great fit with Podcasting 2.0 because the entire idea of Podcasting 2.0 is to have an open platform for a free platform for freedom of speech. And in order to achieve that, you really need peer-to-peer money. You really need to have peer-to-peer economy because of censorship. Not only censorship, but also let me break it down to you. So currently in the podcasting world, and you know that better than me for sure, podcasters are making money through advertisements. And these advertisers and the content curators are actually control the content. If they don't like something that is being said in the podcaster, they stop the funding of the podcast, or they're even censorship. They apply censorship to the podcaster. If you want to have a free platform for freedom of speech, you need also to have a peer-to-peer economy around that. You really need to have a way for users, for podcast listeners, to compensate the podcaster directly without the involvement of the curators or even banks, for that matter. Because censorship can be applied via the money transmitter. Breez is a great example to the power of the Lightning economy, because when you have a node running in your pocket, basically, you can compensate the podcaster directly without any middleman, and taking a cut from your earnings or applying censorship to your content. By the way, it's not only censorship, it's also the quality of the podcast, because competing over advertisement is also changing the quality of the content being created in the podcasting world. So you need to have clickbaits, and you need to have sensational content in order to attract more users. We want clean content, high quality content, and if we want that, then enters the value for value model that Adam and Dave are preaching, where users can compensate podcaster directly without the involvement of third parties, and then you can be dependent on your community of listeners.
Yeah, so it adds a whole new level, and I think the way Adam Curry has been talking about it is he's saying, people can just start contributing in a different way to the shows that they like, and then it's all one feed, so it might still have the ads in it, but then his view is like, oh, you can more you can skip, you feel like less guilty about skipping the ads or whatever. I guess that's one way of doing it, and maybe other people are thinking of it like they would actually go and have a separate feed which is ad-free. Yeah. And I guess even from my point of view, it's a little bit difficult because, well, not difficult, like, oh, look, woe is me kind of thing, but more just like technically achieving it, because I actually do provide, ad-free version for my Patreon listeners, and Patreon does a feed for which is the ad-free feed for them. And then I also give the MP3 version in a separate private chat group for those supporters, but it's a bit more manual. It's not as kind of built in with a slick app, so that's kind of a difficulty there. Definitely. But I do have a Sphinx. Obviously, I've got the Sphinx thing going, just like my buddies over at Tales from the Crypt, who are big on that too. But it's just an interesting little development that we're seeing now, that we're trying to do this whole Lightning podcasting 2.0 thing. So I guess that's just a little bit of color from my side. Yeah,
definitely. We're just getting started, right? I'm sure that if that will be successful, then the tools will be easier and provide you with the support that you need in order to publish an ad-free version. The whole game right now is rigged towards advertisement, but just like Patreon, I think if we'll be able to succeed with this value for value model on top of Lightning, then the tools will build the tools that you need in order to succeed with that. And either way, you're becoming less dependent on your advertisements funds, which is great.
Yeah, and the other thing with the whole podcasting 2.0 thing is it does like a split, like a breakdown of where the sats are going. So for the listener, you pick a certain rate of how many sats per minute, whatever, 100 sats a minute or whatever rate you pick, and it then does a breakdown of, obviously, some of that goes to the podcaster, some of that might go to the app, some of that might go to the podcast index, and then the way this might be built out in the future is people might, if they are contributing in some way, maybe if they're doing some kind of design or marketing work for the show to help promote the show, then maybe they get cut in on having, some of the sats that get streamed to them. And there's a lot of power with this because you can basically set this up on an app and you can just download it on an Android phone or whatever, and it's not necessarily the same as having to go through a normal employer if you can set up an app and get paid, Bitcoin for your services in this way. It's just enabling a whole new world of possibilities, right?
Exactly. It's a different economy because it's a transparent economy. What if you listen to one of Adam's podcasts, No Agenda or Podcasting 2.0, you see, for example, he adds he's the guy that does his chapters. It's a challenge doing chapters for podcasts. Breez supports that, by the way, but he adds that guy, and people can add the guys who are doing the podcast images or the podcast sounds, and etc. And really, there's a direct compensation from the end user to the guys who worked on the podcast without going through any third party. That's amazing. That's the power of Lightning. You can't do that with any other in the fiat world. That's not possible. Under the hood, the way that it's being implemented is every entity that is being compensated has its own Lightning node, and Breez, the client, is doing keysend. Keysend is a way to send sats without an invoice. Breez is doing keysends to the node, depending, and splits the payments, the sats per minute payment, based on the ratio the podcaster has decided.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm wondering as well, I know you're more a technical guy yourself, so you'll probably have some appreciation for this. I'm curious why it's kind of done as like a streaming on the go, as opposed to, doing it like one payment at the end when they've stopped listening. I'm curious if there's any insight you have into that, or whether that might mean there's a lot more, HTLCs flying around the network, around the Lightning network. Would that represent like a DOS vector there, or is that, you think that's an acceptable risk there?
So a couple of things on that. One, currently it's a voluntary model, but no one says it's going to stay like that. So imagine a world where the podcasters are streaming podcasts or music or movies or videos if you continue to pay sats. So in that model, you have to stream sats, because as long as you stream sats, you receive the content. That's one thing. A second thing is the fact that from a technical standpoint, from a client standpoint, it's very robust to stream sats, because imagine someone force closes the app or uninstalls the app. Then you are not relying on settling the balance at the end of the show. Keep in mind also that we don't have a credit card as a collateral, right? You need to stream sats, because if you decide to stop streaming sats, then we can't hold you accountable. The only way to hold you accountable, the user, is for you to stream sats. And I like it, and I'll tell you, that's my opinion. I like it as a stress test for the Lightning Network. I saw just published an article yesterday, and Lalu Rosby from Lightning Labs replied. I like to test the robustness and see if Lightning can handle this a lot of HTLC streaming, because that's the power of Lightning, and I think we need to start testing the waters.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point you make there, that it is time to start testing these out and seeing how they grow, and if there are issues identified, it's better that they're identified early. So we'll see where that goes. And in terms of another...
And I'll tell you one other thing, Stephan.
Go on.
Podcaster love to see sat streaming. Meaning, I get it all the time. People sending me screenshots of their stats or of the incoming sats. That's a cool factor.
Yeah.
And the cool factor is important.
Yeah, no, that's certainly very cool, seeing it stream in and ping off the notifications in my Sphinx app. And I guess it's kind of, the idea is to try to make it all interoperable, right? Because if I set up the Sphinx app, but then I can receive, from other people on other apps, then it's kind of all becoming one growing, ecosystem.
That's what you said right now. That's the key for the success of Lightning. Lightning has to remain open and decentralized. You can. But that's not the power of Lightning. You can build closed gardens on top of Lightning. But I think that once we'll do that, then Lightning is doomed to fail. We need to keep Lightning open. And with the Podcasting 2.0, we have an open standard, an open protocol for everyone to join. And Jack Moller, yesterday, he replied to one of our tweets saying he wants to add the Podcasting 2.0 to his app, to Strike, which is amazing. And that's the power of Lightning, being an open, decentralized platform for transferring peer-to-peer money.
Yeah, so that's really cool. That's really cool to see where that's going. And I guess just a couple other questions that people might have, just from a practicality and being pragmatic. Let's say someone wants to accept a payment, but it's being done online, and they might, post that invoice and then have to deal with the expiry time, or maybe if their wallet or their phone is off. How does Breez deal with in those kinds of scenarios? Like, I guess historically, maybe people might have said something like in a private DM, they might have said, "Oh, hey, I'll sell you this thing. Can you pay me to this address?" But then maybe because of time zones, that other guy wakes up and he only sees it a couple hours later, and then the guy who's receiving his phone is offline. So in a Bitcoin transaction world, that would have been fine because it's just going to the address. How does that work in the Lightning context, and how does Breez kind of get around some of those kinds of issues?
So we have a couple of ways to mitigate that. So in order to receive a Lightning payment, both parties need to be online at the same time. It's kind of like having a phone call. They need to talk together at the same time in order to do this Lightning transaction. We have a couple of ways to mitigate that. One is called Connect to Pay, which works between Breez users only. Just because others haven't implemented this protocol, but you can send a link to pay someone, and when this user is ready to accept the payment, he clicks on the link. The sender receives a notification that the payee has joined the session, and they have like an online session of payment, and that leverage mobile notifications in order to coordinate the payment session. Another way to mitigate that is by using LNURL. We support LNURL withdrawal. So you can put your funds, the funds that you want to transfer to someone, in an LNURL withdrawal supporting sites like Lightning Gift or or LNPay or others. There are a few services that support that. And whenever the user is ready to accept the payment, he clicks on the link and they can receive the funds, which it's also a way to mitigate that. Another thing that we want to implement, but we were so busy that we haven't got around to that, is a protocol that we call a lightning rod that we published a while ago. Is we want to leverage a hold invoice in order to coordinate this payment. So a lightning rod can be a node that holds the funds. It's an intermediate node that holds the funds on behalf of the payer and settles the payment with the payee once the payee is online. So we have a Medium publication. You can search for the Lightning Rod article to see how it works in a trustless manner. That's another features that we want to implement in regards to offline, so-called offline payment, because there's no such thing as an offline payment in Lightning.
Gotcha. Yeah. So it's kind of like an approach of trying to find ways to either wake that phone or to be able to make it wake up and take the payment, or some of these other approaches like a lightning rod style, like the HODL invoice style.
We want to integrate something like the road, which is similar in concept to the concept of a watchtower, to tackle that. We want to be less dependent on the platforms, meaning Google, Apple. We want to have something that is more integrated into the Lightning way of working with things. LNURL in that regard provide a lot of user experience benefits.
Yeah, it's really interesting because there's trade-offs all the way, right? Like some people have said LNURL might not be as secure because you're kind of reinserting this idea of going to the web interface. And then I've also heard some of the protocol developers say they weren't a big fan of the HODL invoice style because it locks up liquidity across the route. It locks up liquidity on the network. So, I mean, I guess with all of these, there's trade-offs, and we kind of have to just see what happens and what the market decides in some sense, which approach and which trade-off is best for people. Yeah.
I think there will be multiple solutions for multiple use cases. Breez users are using heavily using the Connect to Pay feature. People who are using, for example, Thunder Games or other services are using LNURL. We'll implement the road and we'll see where it takes us. I think some merchants have no problem in holding some of their liquidity.
I see. Yeah, and you mentioned earlier as well around some of these ideas of what you might look at in future, like having Lightning Pool. Can you tell us a little bit about what that would look like?
Definitely. So Lightning Pool is a way to lease channels. It's a way to increase your liquidity without paying a lot in advance for the channel. We are looking for a way, and that's the key, another key for the success of Lightning, to increase the liquidity in the Lightning network. Lightning Labs has created this concept of a Lightning Pool, the service of a Lightning Pool where you can lease channels. We want our users to enjoy power of Lightning Pool in order to increase their capacity, to increase their liquidity. And now they can pay $1,000 in Breez. I want to start building for a world where they can pay $10K in Breez. And we will require services like Lightning Pool in order to do that. And Lightning Pool has added some features that allow services like Breez to coordinate channel opening between a user and someone that offers a channel in pool. We need more features in that, and I want Lightning Labs to support zero confirmation channels and a zero channel reserve in order to integrate that into Breez. We also want to make sure that the entities that are offering these channels via pool are reliable, meaning have a high BOS score, are able to reliably route payments, because a lot of the stuff that Breez is doing is in LSP is to ensure that payments are getting routed.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. So it sounds to me like your concerns and things around Lightning Pool are essentially making sure that the users still get a good experience. So I guess just to back up a sec, just for listeners who are new, Lightning Pool allows basically, think of it like a channel marketplace. So some people can offer up liquidity and say, hey, I'm willing to open a channel to you for this amount of sats or this kind of return. And I guess from your side, Breez might be able to facilitate that for Breez users to say, hey, if you need liquidity, we can help you source that incoming liquidity through Lightning Pool. But what you're saying is essentially you want to make sure that the reliability of those channels and certain features around having zero reserve, meaning you don't have to have that little amount of fee reserve in the channel, that you can spend it all down to zero, and features around that essentially around ensuring the customer experience.
And you don't need to wait in order to spend the funds. It's about user experience and reliability.
Right, yeah, that's a really interesting thing to see there. Also, I'm curious about the automatic cloud backups. So the scenario here might be, let's say they're a listener of this show and they are out there trying to teach people about Bitcoin and Lightning, and they might tell them, hey, get on this app and you can start, stacking sats or spending sats or whatever, and they might have lost their backup, right? So I think a lot of us who have been around for a while have friends who we helped on board years ago, and then they lost that backup. They lost their 12 or 24 words, and then now they're gone. They lost the coins. What's the approach with Breez and the auto cloud backups?
Yeah, as you said, we have auto cloud backups. So Breez is a Lightning wallet. Unlike a Bitcoin wallet, in order to back up Breez, you need to back up Breez after each payment, because Lightning under the hood is a chain of Bitcoin transactions. So whenever the channel state is changing, you need to save that in the backup if you don't want channels to be closed. So it requires, unlike a regular Bitcoin on-chain wallet, it requires an ongoing backup process. The only way currently to implement an easy, simple way for users to backup in that manner is to backup to the cloud or to a Breez server. We decided not to back up to a Breez server because we don't want users to be dependent on Breez as the backup server. So we're offering Google Drive, iCloud ongoing backups, and we are adding Dropbox, and we'll add that soon. And for users that are worried about Google or Apple monitoring their content, because these companies are a bit obscure about the way that they save the backup data, we also add an option to encrypt the backup data.
I see. So basically, it automatically gets backed up to that user's Google Cloud or Apple iCloud, or Google Drive or Apple iCloud, and they have an option to add a password if they're concerned around, security of that or surveillance of that by, the big Google and big Apple. And so then in the case, like hypothetically, let's say Breez, it wasn't around anymore and that user wanted to recover, how would they recover their coins?
So currently you can recover via Breez. I imagine that if Breez won't around, we will provide a utility that allows you to download the backup data and easily restore it in an LND node. You can do that manually, by the way, in the developer. To demonstrate Breez is a full Lightning node, we also expose a developer mode in the app itself. You have a developer mode with all the LNCLI, the LND kind of command line capabilities, which you totally control. One of the actions in the developer menu is to export the LND databases. So you can export these databases and restore it in an LND node. That's essentially the backup data that we store in the cloud. If we will stop working, then you can use that, or we will provide tools to download the cloud data, or you can compile Breez. Breez is fully open source. which is another hot topic in the Bitcoin domain. So we are completely open source. You can compile and use the Breez app without us even knowing or
Very nice.
caring.
And Roy, also curious to get your thoughts around Lightning as a protocol. What kinds of things are you interested to see? Are you looking to see things like, I don't know, trampoline routing or anything else that you're interested to see come to Lightning at a protocol level?
I think worries me about Lightning. You know, all the advances that you've mentioned are, for me, currently are nice to have, because I think we've managed to create a good user experience on top of Lightning or what we have right now. Trampoline payments will definitely, trampoline routing will definitely be an improvement, because Graph Sync is going to be a challenge as the Lightning Network grows. I think Lightning in general needs to be more robust. We still seeing and experiencing issues with our users, like spontaneous channels being closed and stuff like that, that we need to resolve. That's what worries me currently in the day-to-day experience. Looking forward for trampoline routing, looking forward some of the stuff that L&D is working on in terms of upgrading existing channels. So the ability to upgrade one channel tap to another without closing and opening a new channel, that would be great. For example, channels that offer Anchor, an Anchor channel, an Anchor output. Anchor output is needed to reduce the fee of channels being closed. This is the features that
so I think it's kind of like around things like reliability, or just kind of ensuring the fee levels are appropriate using the Anchor output style channel.
Mm-hmm. And the ability to upgrade from one channel type to another, that's going to be key for the adoption of these improvements.
Yeah, I see. I get you. Yeah. But it looks like, it's really exciting. There's a lot of growth around the ecosystem as well. Wondering if you have any, stories that you've seen in terms of merchants or any people who are kind of adopting Lightning and just going straight into Lightning. Are you seeing that in any of your channels or any of your communications?
Well, yeah, definitely. I'm getting, I told you, I'm getting pictures from all around the world of people sending me pictures of merchants using Breez to accept payments. Someone in Israel recently bought the Cheetos in one of the cities in Israel, and the merchant used Breez to receive the payment. That was exciting. And we don't even know, Stephan, that's the amazing thing. We don't know the implications of the work that we're doing. I can tell you for the podcast stuff that we've released last week, we've tripled our monthly transaction amount in a week. Meaning in a week, we've done 3 times more transactions that we're doing.
Yeah, because everyone's streaming sats through, hey?
Yeah, and and podcasters are approaching Breez, wanting to be added to the platform, want to monetize their podcasts and start receiving Bitcoins. People want to receive Bitcoins, and users are willing to stream sats to content creators. That's, I can tell you, after a week, I can tell you
it's very exciting, and I'm excited to see where it all goes. So Roy, I think it's probably a good spot to finish up here. So if you've got any closing thoughts for the listeners on what they should do, and of course, where can they find you online?
Well, they can find me practically, and us, Breez is not just only me, we're a team. Shout out to my partners, Roy and Akiva, Erdem. Thank you. Love you guys. They can find us in Telegram. They can find us in Medium. We're doing a lot of content, creating a lot of content to help the Lightning ecosystem in Medium. So Telegram, Medium, Twitter, wherever. I'm here for you guys.
All right. Thanks, Roy. See ya.
Thank you, Stephan. Bye-bye.
Hope you found that one interesting. If you enjoyed the show, make sure you leave a review on Apple Podcasts or similar so new people can find me. You can find the show notes at stephanlivera.com/264 for this episode. Thanks, and I will see you in the Citadels.